She's a skilled healer. So why does the alien nurse keep looking at me like that? Marcus Chen had never expected to wake up in an alien medical facility, but here he was, staring at a ceiling that seemed to shift colors with his breathing. The last thing he remembered was the mining accident on Kepler 442b. A support beam had crushed his leg, and his human crewmates had been frantically calling for emergency transport before everything went black. Now, as consciousness slowly returned, he became aware of the soft humming around him. It wasn't mechanical, it was organic, almost musical. The sound seemed to ease the pain that should have been screaming through his body. Instead, he felt surprisingly comfortable. "You are awake," came a voice, melodic and gentle. Marcus turned his head to see the source. The alien standing beside his bed was unlike anything he had seen in the various species databases. She stood about 6 feet tall, with silver-blue skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Her large, luminous eyes were a deep violet color, and what appeared to be delicate tendrils instead of hair moved gently around her elongated head. She wore what looked like medical robes, but they seemed to flow like liquid mercury. "I am Healer Zarath," she said, her voice carrying that same musical quality as the humming. "You have suffered severe trauma. Your lower extremity was significantly damaged." Marcus tried to sit up, panic rising in his chest. His leg, he needed to see his leg. But as he moved, he realized something impossible. There was no pain. Not just reduced pain, but absolutely none. He looked down and saw his leg, perfectly intact, covered by a strange, gossamer-like material that seemed to pulse with gentle light. "How is this possible?" he whispered, flexing his toes experimentally. Everything worked perfectly. Zarath moved closer, and Marcus noticed something odd. Her large eyes seemed to study him with an intensity that went beyond medical interest. There was something almost curious about her gaze, as if he were a fascinating puzzle she was trying to solve. "Your species," she began, then paused, those violet eyes never leaving his face. "Your species heals in ways we did not expect." "What do you mean?" She touched a device on her wrist, and holographic displays materialized in the air between them. Marcus could see what looked like cellular structures, but they were moving and changing in real time. "When we brought you here, your leg was, how do you say, destroyed? Bone fragments, severed tendons, massive tissue death. By all our medical knowledge, amputation would be the only option." Marcus stared at the horrifying images of what had been his leg just... "How long ago?" "How long have I been here?" 72 of your hours, Zarath replied, but her eyes had that strange, intense look again. "We applied our standard healing protocols. Bioregeneration fields, cellular reconstruction therapy, bone synthesis chambers. These treatments work well for all known species." She paused, moving even closer. Marcus caught a scent like ozone mixed with something floral. "But your body, it did something unprecedented." Another wave of her hand brought up new holographic displays. These showed cellular activity that looked like nothing Marcus had ever seen in his basic biology classes. "Your cells began to work with our technology in ways we have never observed. Not just accepting the healing, actively improving it. Your bone density increased beyond baseline. Your muscle tissue became more efficient. Your nerve pathways developed redundant connections that should not exist." Marcus looked down at his leg again, then back at Zarath. "Are you saying I'm better than before?" "Much better." Her voice had dropped to almost a whisper, and those violet eyes seemed to glow brighter. "Your species appears to have an adaptive capability that we do not understand. Under stress, under healing, your biology becomes enhanced." There was definitely something more than professional curiosity in her gaze now. It reminded Marcus of the way his research colleagues looked when they discovered something that could change everything they thought they knew. "Have you treated other humans before?" he asked. Zarath shook her head slowly, those tendril-like appendages moving hypnotically. "You are the first of your kind to require such extensive healing. The other humans we have treated suffered only minor injuries, cuts, bruises, simple fractures. We thought we understood your physiology." She moved to check readings on various devices around his bed, but Marcus noticed that her eyes kept returning to him with that same intense fascination. "The healing process should be complete now," she said, though she made no move to discharge him. "You should be able to return to your duties." "Should be?" "We want to observe you for a few more cycles, to ensure there are no complications." But the way she said it made Marcus think that wasn't the real reason. There was something about the way she moved around him, the way her bioluminescent skin seemed to pulse a little brighter when she was near him, the way she found excuses to check his vital signs more frequently than seemed medically necessary. Other medical staff came and went, beings he recognized as Volthari with their crystalline features, and some reptilian species he couldn't identify. But they all seemed to defer to Zarath, and he noticed they would whisper among themselves in languages his translator couldn't interpret, casting glances in his direction. "Healer Zarath," he said during one of her frequent checkups. "Is everything all right? You and your staff seem concerned about something." She paused in her examination. Her large hands, he noticed they had 6 fingers each, hovering over the scanning device she had been using to check his leg. "Not concerned," she said carefully. "Intrigued." "By what?" She set down the scanner and looked directly at him. This close, he could see that her violet eyes had flecks of silver in them, and they seemed to swirl like tiny galaxies. "Your cellular structure continues to evolve. Even now, hours after the healing should be complete, your body is still improving itself." She called up more displays, showing microscopic views that meant nothing to Marcus, but clearly fascinated her. "Your muscle fibers are becoming more dense. Your bone structure is developing new lattice patterns that should make it virtually unbreakable. Your nervous system is creating connections that we believe could increase your reaction time and sensory processing." Marcus stared at the displays, trying to process what she was telling him. "Are you saying the accident made me superhuman?" "We are saying," Zarath replied, and he noticed she had switched to we, though they were alone, "that your species may possess adaptive capabilities far beyond what anyone realized, and we are trying to understand how this is possible." That night, or what passed for night in the facility's artificial lighting cycles, Marcus lay awake thinking about what Zarath had told him. The more he considered it, the more questions he had. Why had no other human ever exhibited these abilities? Was it specific to the type of injury, the healing technology used, or was there something else? He was so lost in thought that he almost didn't notice when his door opened silently. Zarath entered, moving with a grace that seemed impossible for someone her size. She approached his bed quietly, apparently thinking he was asleep. In the dim light, her bioluminescent skin cast a gentle glow that reminded Marcus of moonlight on water. She stood beside his bed for a long moment, just watching him. When he shifted slightly, pretending to sleep, he caught her making notes on a handheld device. But what struck him most was the expression on her face. It wasn't just scientific curiosity anymore. There was something deeper there, something that looked almost like wonder, as if she were looking at something precious and rare. When she finally left, Marcus remained awake for hours, wondering what exactly was happening to him, and why the most skilled healer in the facility seemed to find him so fascinating. The next morning brought new revelations. Zarath arrived with a team of specialists, beings from species he had never seen before. They spoke in hushed, excited tones while running increasingly sophisticated scans on his body. "What's going on?" Marcus asked, noting the mixture of excitement and something that might have been concern on their faces. Zarath dismissed the others with a gesture before answering. When they were alone, she moved close to his bed again, that intense gaze fixed on him. "Marcus Chen," she said, and hearing his name in her melodic voice sent an unexpected shiver down his spine. "We need to discuss what you have become." She's a skilled healer. So why does the alien nurse keep looking at me like that? "What I have become," Marcus repeated, sitting up straighter in the medical bed. The gossamer covering over his leg had been removed that morning, revealing skin that looked completely normal, except somehow better than normal, healthier, stronger. Zarath activated her wrist device, and the air filled with complex holographic displays showing cellular structures, genetic sequences, and biological data that made Marcus's head spin. "Your transformation is accelerating," she explained, those violet eyes never leaving his face. "What began as enhanced healing has become something far more significant." She gestured to one of the displays, showing what looked like DNA strands, but they were moving and reshaping themselves in real time. "Your genetic structure is actively rewriting itself, not randomly, with purpose. Your body is optimizing systems that evolution took millions of years to develop." Marcus looked at his hands. They looked the same, but now that he thought about it, everything felt sharper. Colors seemed more vivid. He could hear conversations happening several rooms away. The texture of the bedding felt incredibly detailed against his skin. "How is that possible?" Zarath moved closer, and Marcus noticed that her bioluminescent skin seemed to pulse more rapidly when she was near him. "We believe it is triggered by exposure to our bioregenerative technology combined with your species' unique adaptive capabilities. But Marcus..." She paused, and for the first time, her clinical demeanor cracked slightly. "You are changing in ways that should not be possible." She showed him another display, this one showing brain activity patterns. "Your neural pathways are creating new connections at an exponential rate. Your cognitive processing speed has increased by 40% since yesterday. Your reflexes are now faster than any known species." As if to demonstrate, she suddenly tossed a small medical instrument toward his face. Without thinking, Marcus caught it effortlessly, his hand moving so fast it was just a blur. They both stared at the instrument in his palm. "Incredible," Zarath whispered, and there was something in her voice that made Marcus look at her more carefully. Her large eyes were wide with what he was beginning to recognize wasn't just scientific fascination. There was an emotion there that seemed almost personal. Like she was invested in his transformation on a level that went beyond professional duty. "Healer Zarath," he said carefully, "is there something you're not telling me?" She looked away for the first time since he had met her, those tendril-like appendages around her head moving in what he was learning to recognize as agitation. "There are implications to your transformation that extend beyond medical curiosity." "What kind of implications?" Before she could answer, the door opened and several figures entered. Marcus recognized them as high-ranking officials from various species. Their elaborate clothing and the way Zarath immediately straightened to attention made that clear. The leader appeared to be from a species Marcus had never encountered, tall and imposing, with skin that looked like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed with an inner fire. "Healer Zarath," the being spoke in a voice that sounded like distant thunder. "We require a full report on the human's condition." "Of course, Administrator Thexodon," Zarath replied, but Marcus noticed tension in her posture. The beings spoke among themselves in a language his translator couldn't interpret. but their frequent glances in his direction made it clear they were discussing him. There was something in their manner that made Marcus increasingly uncomfortable. After what felt like an eternity, they filed out, but not before Administrator Thexdan gave Marcus a long, measuring look that made his newly enhanced senses scream warnings. When they were alone again, Zareth moved to the window and stared out at the alien landscape beyond the medical facility. "Zareth," Marcus said, using just her name for the first time. "What did they want?" She turned back to him, and he could see conflict written across her features. "Marcus, what I am about to tell you, it could change everything, not just for you, but for your entire species." She approached his bed slowly, as if afraid he might vanish. "The healing technology that transformed you, it is not just medical equipment. It is based on technology from an ancient civilization that disappeared thousands of years ago. We have never fully understood how it works." She activated new displays, showing archaeological sites and ancient artifacts. "The technology seems to respond to certain genetic markers, certain biological signatures. We have used it successfully for centuries on dozens of species, but always with predictable, limited results." Marcus was beginning to understand. "But with humans, it does something different. With you, it unlocked something. Something that suggests your species may have a connection to the ancient civilization that created this technology." The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. "You're saying humans might be descendants of this lost civilization? We are saying that your genetic structure contains dormant sequences that our technology activated. Sequences that should not exist in any known species." Zareth sat on the edge of his bed, closer than any medical professional should sit with a patient. In the soft lighting, her silver-blue skin seemed to glow with an inner light. "Marcus, there are factions within the galactic community that have been searching for any trace of the ancient civilization for millennia. The technology they left behind is the most advanced ever discovered. If they knew what you represent, they would want to study me. They would want to control you, and through you, potentially control the secret to the most powerful technology in known space." Marcus looked down at his hands again, flexing his fingers and watching muscles move with perfect efficiency under skin that somehow looked more vital than it had just days ago. "And you?" he asked quietly. "What do you want?" Zareth was quiet for a long moment, her violet eyes searching his face. "I want to protect you," she said finally, and there was something in her voice that made Marcus's enhanced senses pick up an acceleration in her heartbeat. "But I also want to understand you. Your transformation, it is unlike anything we have ever seen, and the more I study you, the more I realize that you are becoming something unprecedented." She reached out hesitantly and placed one of her 6-fingered hands over his. Her skin was warm, and Marcus could feel a slight electrical sensation at the contact. "There is something else," she said softly. "Something I discovered today that I have not reported to the administrators." "What?" "Your transformation is not slowing down. If anything, it is accelerating. But more than that, your body is beginning to emit energy signatures that match the ancient technology." Marcus stared at her. "Meaning?" "Meaning you may not just carry the genetic legacy of the ancient civilization. You may be becoming something they were meant to become." The weight of her words settled over them both. Marcus realized that his life as a simple mining engineer was over. Whatever he was becoming, it would change everything. "There is one more thing," Zareth said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The energy signatures you are emitting, they are having an effect on those around you." "What kind of effect?" She looked directly at him, her violet eyes seeming to glow brighter. "Enhanced cognitive function, improved healing rates, heightened sensory awareness. She paused. Everyone who spends extended time near you is experiencing mild versions of your transformation. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Including you? Zarath nodded slowly. Including me and Marcus. I think I am beginning to understand why I cannot seem to stop studying you, why I find myself making excuses to spend time with you, why every instinct I have tells me that you are the most important discovery in galactic history. She leaned closer, and Marcus could smell that ozone and flower scent again, but now it seemed to spark something in his enhanced nervous system. You are not just healing, Marcus. You are evolving. And somehow you are helping others evolve with you. Before Marcus could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the medical facility. Red lights flashed, and automated announcements in multiple languages echoed through the corridors. Zarath was on her feet instantly, her medical training overriding everything else. "What's happening?" Marcus asked, but even as he spoke, his enhanced hearing was picking up sounds that made his blood run cold. Ships, military ships approaching fast. Zarath's face had gone pale, her bioluminescent skin flickering erratically. "They know," she whispered. "Somehow they know what you are becoming." She moved to a cabinet and began pulling out equipment Marcus didn't recognize. "We need to get you out of here, now." "But I thought you said I needed more observation." "Marcus!" She turned to face him, and her expression was fierce with determination. "If they capture you, they will never let you go. They will study you, experiment on you, try to replicate what has happened to you. And they will fail, because they do not understand that your transformation is not just physical." She handed him clothing, not his original mining gear, but something that looked more advanced. "Get dressed. We leave in 2 minutes." As Marcus quickly changed clothes, his mind raced. "Where will we go?" Zarath was gathering data crystals and portable equipment, moving with efficient precision. "There are places in the galaxy where the ancient civilization left more than just technology. Places where their presence still lingers. If we can reach one of those sites..." "What?" She looked at him, and in her violet eyes he saw something that might have been hope mixed with fear. "We might find out what you are truly meant to become." She's a skilled healer. So why does the alien nurse keep looking at me like that? The escape from the medical facility had been more intense than any action movie Marcus had ever seen, except this time his life actually depended on it. His enhanced reflexes and Zarath's intimate knowledge of the facility's layout had gotten them past 3 military checkpoints and into a small, fast ship before the pursuing forces could organize a proper search. Now, 3 days later, they were approaching what Zarath called a resonance site, one of several locations scattered across the galaxy where the ancient civilization had left more than just artifacts. "Tell me again why you're helping me," Marcus said, as he watched the planet grow larger on the view screen. His transformation had continued during their journey, and he was beginning to feel like a different person entirely. His enhanced senses could detect emotional states in others through subtle changes in bioelectricity, and what he sensed from Zarath was complex. She was at the ship's controls, her 6-fingered hands moving over interfaces with practiced ease. Her bioluminescent skin had been flickering in patterns Marcus was learning to recognize as signs of stress. "I told you," she said without looking at him. "As a healer, it is my duty to protect those under my care." "That's not the whole truth." She finally turned to face him, and Marcus saw that her violet eyes seemed brighter than before. Another sign, he suspected, of the changes that proximity to him was causing. "What do you want me to say, Marcus?" He moved closer to her, noting how her skin's luminescence increased as he approached. "I want you to tell me why you look at me the way you do, why you risk your career, your safety, your entire life to help someone you barely know." Zareth was quiet for a long moment, her tendril-like appendages moving in what he now recognized as emotional agitation. "Because," she said finally, "in 40 years of practicing medicine across dozens of worlds, I have never encountered anything like you. And not just your physical transformation." She stood up from the pilot's chair, bringing them face to face. "Your evolution is affecting more than just your biology. There is something about your presence that makes others want to connect with you, to help you, to be near you." She reached out hesitantly and touched his arm. "And the closer I am to you, the more I feel like I am becoming something more than I was before." Marcus felt that familiar electrical sensation at her touch, but now it was accompanied by something else, a sense of completeness, as if puzzle pieces were falling into place. "Zareth, I need you to know something. These changes happening to me, I'm scared of them. I don't know what I'm becoming or what it means for the people around me." "Then we will discover it together." The planet loomed before them now, its surface covered in crystalline formations that seemed to pulse with an inner light. As they entered the atmosphere, Marcus felt something stir in his chest, a resonance that seemed to echo in his bones. "Do you feel that?" he asked. Zareth nodded, her eyes wide. "The entire planet is resonating with some kind of energy signature." "And Marcus," she looked at him in amazement, "you are resonating with it." They landed near what appeared to be ruins of a vast city, its structures made of the same crystalline material that covered the planet's surface. As they stepped out of the ship, Marcus felt the resonance grow stronger. "This way," Zareth said, consulting readings from her scanner. "The strongest energy signatures are coming from the central structure." As they walked through the ruins, Marcus began to notice something extraordinary. The crystalline formations around them were responding to his presence, glowing brighter as he passed, and the changes in his body were accelerating again. "Zareth," he said, stopping in his tracks, "look at your hands." She held up her hands and gasped. Her silver-blue skin was shifting, becoming more luminous, and her fingers seemed more dexterous, more refined. "The energy here is enhancing the changes that began when we first met," Marcus realized. "This place is designed to accelerate evolution." They reached the central structure, a massive spire that seemed to twist upward into the clouds. At its base was an entrance that began to glow as they approached. "Marcus," Zareth whispered, "I think this place has been waiting for you." Inside the structure, they found a vast chamber filled with floating platforms and walls covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change as Marcus looked at them. And then, impossibly, he began to understand them. "They're not just symbols," he said in amazement. "They're instructions, a manual for evolutionary enhancement." As he spoke, the symbols rearranged themselves, forming new patterns that conveyed increasingly complex information directly into his mind. The ancient civilization didn't disappear, Marcus realized, his voice filled with wonder. They evolved beyond physical form. And this technology, it's not just for healing, it's for transformation, for becoming something more than biological life. Zareth moved to stand beside him, and together they watched as the chamber responded to their presence, filling with light and energy that seemed to flow through them both. "And humans," Marcus continued as understanding flooded his mind. "Humans have the genetic potential to make that same transition. That's why the technology affects us differently." "But why?" Zareth asked. "Why would an ancient civilization design technology to enhance a species that wouldn't exist for millions of years?" The answer came to Marcus with startling clarity, delivered through the symbols that continued to shift across the walls. "Because they didn't design it for humans as we are now. They designed it for what humans could become. We're not descendants of the ancient civilization. We're their successors. The chamber filled with a harmonic resonance that seemed to echo in their very cells. Marcus felt his transformation accelerating again, but this time it wasn't frightening. It felt like coming home. "Marcus," Zareth said softly, "what happens to us now?" He turned to look at her and saw that her evolution was accelerating too. Her features were becoming more refined, more luminous, more perfect. But beyond the physical changes, he could sense something deeper. Their minds were beginning to connect on a level that transcended normal communication. "I think," Marcus said, reaching out to take her hand, "we become something that can help others make the same journey." The energy in the chamber reached a crescendo, and suddenly Marcus understood everything. The ancient civilization hadn't vanished. They had transcended physical existence, becoming beings of pure consciousness and energy. The technology they left behind was a gift, a bridge for other species to follow the same path, and humans, with their unique adaptive capabilities and their drive to explore and grow, were meant to be the first to make that journey in this era of galactic history. The medical facility, Marcus realized. When word gets out about what happened to me, other humans will come seeking the same healing technology. Zareth nodded, her enhanced mind following his reasoning easily. And each one will trigger the same evolutionary response. Humanity will begin to transform. And other species who work closely with transformed humans will begin to change as well. They stood together in the chamber, feeling the ancient energy flowing through them, understanding that they were witnessing the beginning of a new phase of galactic evolution. "Zareth," Marcus said, "when you first saw me in that medical bed, did you know? Did you sense that something extraordinary was happening?" She smiled, and her enhanced features were beautiful in a way that transcended any single species' definition of beauty. "I knew you were special from the moment I saw you, but I thought it was just medical curiosity. And now? Now I know it was something much deeper. The same force that drove the ancient civilization to transcendence brought us together. We are meant to guide others through this transformation." Marcus felt a deep sense of rightness settle over him. His accident, his healing, meeting Zareth, their escape, finding this place, it had all been part of something larger. "So when people ask why the alien nurse kept looking at me like that..." Zareth laughed, a sound like silver bells that resonated with the chamber's harmonic frequencies. "You can tell them it was because she recognized something in you that you didn't even know was there. The potential to become something that the universe has been waiting for." They stood together in the ancient chamber as energy flowed around them, no longer fully human or alien, but something new. Something that would help bridge the gap between biological life and the pure consciousness that the ancients had achieved. And in the depths of space, other humans who had been injured in mining accidents or exploration mishaps were beginning to find their way to medical facilities equipped with ancient healing technology, unknowingly starting their own journeys toward transcendence. The galaxy was about to change, and it would begin with a simple question. Why does she keep looking at me like that? The answer, as Marcus and Zareth now knew, was because evolution recognizes its own potential. And love, whether between species or between beings transcending species, is one of the most powerful forces in the universe for transformation. Their story was just beginning, but already they could sense others like them awakening across the galaxy, ready to take the next step in the cosmic dance of consciousness that had started long before any of their civilizations had learned to reach for the stars. And in medical facilities throughout human space, healers from dozens of species would soon begin to notice something extraordinary about their human patients. and wonder why they found themselves unable to look away from these fascinating, evolving beings who seemed destined for something magnificent.